Yes. Discussion 2 years. Right? So
It's done. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Infrastructure Task Force Advisory Committee meeting of February 5, 2024. Can you please take the roll?
Mr. Angeli,
Here.
Mr. Grabsky, Mr. Legree,
Here.
Mr. Lamberts,
Here.
Mr. Marshall, Mr. Partington.
Yeah.
Ms. Retzko,
Present.
Mr. Stressall, Mr. Walters,
Here.
Mr. Zillman,
Here.
and Chairman Mano.
Yes.
You have a floor.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda.
I'm sure. Second.
Moved in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the previous meeting minutes of January 8th. I assume everyone has had an opportunity to take a look at the minutes. Can I
Move to approve.
move to approve?
Second.
Second, any comments? Hearing no comments, everyone wants to approve the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Done. Okay. We have on our agenda today our continuing participation with the city on the reimagining City Hall project. And so I would like to turn the meeting over now to, I believe, Ms. Vicky.
Yes.
For an update, or at both Vicky and Ms. Vicky and Laura. Reese. Okay, now.
But this is your presentation?
Yes, this is it. So we're just gonna start off with the presentation that we did before, just covering what we've been to do. And what the result of the survey out, so it's in the document that we're presenting today. But the first slide, of course, you know, as we did before, which is to debrief and to have a discussion about anything that you all work well. We said the public was engaged, workout sessions were received well, and we had microphones this time. But we'd like to know what else you all would like to consider.
I just want to say for the record that I think this was the best one. And the staff worked marvelously well, and the click, 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 there was no glitches. The public was really engaged this time.
Just want to say thank you to city and staff and Celtic and committee members who showed up in the district, which I live.
Mhm.
So, and it was, I thought it was number one, well attended. And number two, we were concerned after the first one about people leaving before the meeting was over. It didn't happen this time. And that was a good thing. I think you guys did an excellent job.
Thank you, everybody.
And I commend you for buying local on the refreshments. I think everybody is doing that.
Figured that out. Indeed. So, we thank you all, because I thank you all for participation, and getting word out, about the word out. So, we'll do the same sort of things we did before, which is reach out to the public. We just wanted to show you what the next, agenda workshop would be. Of course, we need to recognize. Need recognition.
No, not a committee.
Okay. Yeah. So welcome and introduction is what we intend to do with you all, presenting as well. And then, we're gonna do a recap, which will show as we proceed along here. And then we'll go into the day's purpose as we discussed before. We'll give the same information about the data, and you'll see in this information that the city has broken out how many staff are in each one of the areas that were identified. And then we'll have our breakout sessions again, so people can identify their names. And we'll do the next steps and wrap up. So with that, move this forward. Well, you are familiar with, obviously, the folks that are involved. We still have the infrastructure as AI will first off and budget. And the next is our schedule, which remains the same. You all have seen this a couple of times. And I know the city staff have come out to the commission and they've been sending the information out to their districts with their particular meetings. I've seen a few, sometimes I get a couple of them. But it remains the same. We did talk to you about the new date for March 23rd at the speech community center. And, so with that, of course, you know, with our space allocation discussion, we obviously we talked neighbor to neighbor, and neighbor to elected officials and neighbor to staff to get the information that we subsequently then presented pretty shortly. I'm going to do this again. So in terms of attendance, we had 28, and as you can see, the different participation did increase with some districts, so that was very good. I'll have them in for you all can see.
Question?
Yes, yes, sir.
So, any ideas on how we can increase attendance? 'Cause I think this is pretty.
Well, we've
Do you
been calling.
have any suggestions?
We can put something, I don't know how often, we had talked about putting something in the local paper, Sun Sentinel. I thought we were gonna also get this information into each one of you all's neighborhood association newsletters. So if they know when they're coming, we can call in the people, obviously, we're waiting a week before, because no need to call them, we've been emailing them. So we're doing that same process.
What about city commission?
Make an announcement. Well, how many people watch?
People do watch it. I thought they were making it happen, but I'm sorry if I wasn't listening. They're not announcing it?
I don't know.
No, I don't remember hearing them make an announcement.
So at the last, the last commission meeting, the district commissioner talked a little bit about attending the workshop and spoke about that and her.
After the fact,
After the fact,
Yeah.
yeah, and talked about how she plans to attend more, because there was discussion about this effort and,
Well, that,
prior attendance and the intent to attend.
well, that's a shout out to each one of us. To call our own district commissioners and ask them to be more active.
so I know in District 1 and 2, there's a pre-agenda call the night before the city commission.
That's great.
Is it free? And if this board have that?
Or has a free agenda, absolutely.
So maybe that's an opportunity for us to say to our commissioner, hey, or just let me make an announcement to you if ever on the call.
Yep, done.
Just to, and I understand, we need to do something, but everything that you're talking about now was done, I know, for the meeting that happened on the 13th of January. Not only was it done by our commissioners, it was done by the committee, it was done by me, and we reached out, and I was very disappointed that the homeowners association, if they came, only the chair came instead of bringing everybody. I mean, I know chairs are important. I got nothing wrong with people who are chairs, who believe that they hold all the information, but we want to hear from your people. And that's what we are not getting. We are not getting down to the roots or the nitty gritty of the people who are using the system. I don't need to hear cheers because they know as much about this as I do. But and I just want to thank you because I know the job you did.
Well, thank you, and
We're
whatever else y'all think,
I'm not saying it didn't do it
Oh,
well.
no.
I'm saying, how can we get more people?
That's what I said. I agree with everything that you said, but we need to do something different from what we have done for 1 and 2. Because I know the work that went in to get them true. And the people just didn't show up.
You know-
I'm, it was my district and I'm disappointed.
Yeah, well, I'm struggling with that too. And I'm having a civic association meeting. Cheryl's coming to my civic association meeting. Yeah, I mean, let us see, could we have her at yours as well? I mean, that's where the presidents need to be contacted. I'll do that. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna send an email to all my presidents' contacts and ask them, please, before this is over, get in touch with the consultants and with Laura and have a presentation for your people. Right, that's what I can do. I should have done that before.
That's one way, if they won't come to us, we'll go to them.
Maybe they'll go to that, yeah.
We'll be more than happy to do that. And the other thing too is that 53 people did participate in the survey. So people are participating in the survey
Oh, well, that's
that
good.
aren't showing, that aren't necessary at the meeting. So you have that to add on to as well.
That's good.
Yeah, my other thought is, I haven't checked the city's Facebook page. I'm assuming that it's been up on the city's Facebook page. Are we getting any likes or comments on the Facebook page?
Instagram, on Instagram.
Yeah, so Ashley's not here today, but remember she put together that communications plan and then she's done an update. We'll send you another update from our public information office. But yeah, they're executing the plan as we laid out, where they're sending those blasts out in social media posts.
How about Nextdoor? I haven't seen anything about this on Nextdoor.
I don't know, again, that would be through our public information office, like departments don't have the ability to go in and post some of these things, but I'll report back on where it's been and how many interactions we've received.
Well, for this next one, let's talk about this next one. It's in a very nice central location. It's lots of parking there. It should not be a hardship for anybody to get there. How about we send out a blast on Nextdoor about this, and then I'll comment on it, you comment on it, everybody will comment on it. Was, I assume some of you are on Facebook. I assume. I shouldn't assume, okay? But you know, everybody who's on Facebook should comment on it. Then we get some comments going, some rolling, you know, and they'll say, oh, this is a waste of time. And then we'll go back and we'll say, no, this is not a waste of time. Look at the video, that kind of stuff. So let's try and do that.
That'd be great if the comments would start going around on Facebook, Instagram.
Right. All you need is a couple of bad people on Nextdoor and those comments will start flowing.
You know what would be helpful if you could prepare something that we could put on Facebook, doesn't exaggerate, underwrite. And that we could put it on Facebook. I'll put it on Facebook.
This fact sheet, is that too much? Even if you just put the front of it.
Yeah,
No, how about
What do you
something a
want?
little more visual? How about you took wonderful video clips of the meetings, okay? Give me a video clip.
Okay.
Send us a video clip and I'll put a video clip on Nextdoor and say, we missed you at the meeting. Here, check it out.
Yeah, there's some good.
But you know, really, if you put something, Laura, if you all put something on the city's webpage like that, I don't have to do it. All I have to do is link it. Check out the city's da-da-da-da.
Sorry, Yvette Matthews, Office of Management and Budget. So what Stratcom has been doing is before each workshop, they've been placing notification on Facebook. So they have this wonderful little share your feedback video, and it's a little imagery of the Reimagining City Hall like highlight.
So it's on,
And
it
so-
is on Facebook
Yeah,
now.
so it is
So
on
we have to
Facebook.
start-
They also did a Nextdoor post, but it's a little older, so we'll get with Ashley to make sure that maybe the week before the workshop that we're reposting those items so that they go on again. But they do have some really great graphics that they put together.
That's wonderful. That's what you need. So we gotta start reposting that stuff, yes.
when is Old City Hall being tomorrow?
Laura, do you know?
Yeah, so, on tomorrow's agenda, there is a request to appropriate $13 million to pay for the demolition. There's a process by which we have to get the approval from FEMA in order for them to cover the cost. So, we don't have a specific timeline, but it's moving forward. We have an estimate from Ashgrit, which is the consultant who's dealing with the FEMA-related issues. So, and that appropriation will be on tomorrow night, and then we'll keep you posted as you navigate the FEMA process. There'll be an afternoon presentation on that topic.
See, the media would be very interested as it starts to be demolished. But unfortunately, it doesn't sound like that's imminent. Because you could combine, you know, plus the media to attend this part of the actual demolition with the publicity. By the way, there's a process ongoing in deciding about the new city hall. It sounds like that may actually be too late for us by the time it actually starts. Just
You know-
a thought.
Yeah, I think we should follow up on that. I mean, I have a few contacts. You probably have a few, Laura, you probably have a few contacts at the Sun Sentinel. Why don't, somebody should.
I mean, you're
send
talking about one with being demolished?
Yeah, no, about the contract
The fact that it's on the
demolishing.
meeting, now we could use
On the
that.
city commission meeting, there's a contract
No,
to,
it's not the contract, it's the appropriation of funds.
it's a discussion about the
Right.
demolition of City
Right.
Hall. And in that article, oh, and by the way, the next workshop is such and such.
That would be very good. The lady was there from the. Sunset.
Susanna Bryant was always there.
Susanna,
Yes, it was there at the first meeting.
But I'm actually not sure that the majority of people realize that City Hall is being abandoned.
A lot of people don't know.
So, you know, they may just think it's business as usual, but so few people actually go to City Hall. I mean, it does look pretty derelict, but I just wonder if we could get some publicity, particularly from the TV stations related to the imminent demolition.
I can-
Associating that with the consultation process.
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly ask, the city manager and public information office how they feel about that. And suggest that.
Would you have any objection if we did it ourselves?
Motion.
No. Well, exactly. Yeah, you should be writing a story
I
about it.
volunteer. I like to press that TNT.
All right, let's try and continue with this.
Okay, so
Wait. Alert.
The phone blast that goes out and everything. Because they leave a message on your phone.
That's a nice idea. Alert FPL.
FTL.
FTL.
That's what,
Who runs that?
Laura.
No, I do not run that. So I believe that is done through strategic communications as well. I think we probably need to ask actually in the next meeting, but
Yeah,
also in
maybe.
between, I'll have a conversation with her and we'll report back on. all
Okay.
of those
Thank you.
options.
All right.
So, yeah, just because we have a department, kind of focused in on those efforts, we filter it through them and they do it on behalf of the city.
My only concern with FTL is, I think they might want to reserve that for emergencies.
Yes.
Yeah. And they don't want to clog it up. But, you know, go ahead.
Yeah, we're, once every 3 weeks.
Mm. Okay,
It's not like we're gonna make the wires.
okay, let's continue.
Okay, so to capture the responses back from each one of the papers, we used the affinity diagramming methodology. And so essentially what happens is it's a bottoms up. And so it captures the information and each one of the data points was used and then put in a category form. And we categorize them as we are presenting them. For the people, we put obviously a place you want to go, a place to come together, consider a campus that becomes the gateway to Fort Lauderdale, combine the blocks, a customer service oriented facility. The next one that we accumulated the data under the community should have flexible space and expanding contacting rooms with adaptable technologies, single level spaces that promote collaboration and communication, flex space, and that's where we talked about history, exhibits, education, collaboration hub, and then community meeting space was talked about. All the papers, practice space for residents, was emphasized. And then the city officials and staff should have dedicated space, we heard that. And of course, space for city auditor, city manager, city clerk, elected officials, city attorney. And then of course, they wanted to make sure that there was secure administration. Also, most administrative functions should be located in one place, was the thought process.
I think that was a real strong viewpoint. You know, you should have all the administrative top people in one place.
Yes.
And then that spoke to the fact of, you know, that didn't say that there shouldn't be other places, satellite places, but there was a recognition that, you know, if you're gonna run an organization, all the key people have to be together.
And you'll see that in some of the survey response. when we get to
Okay,
that.
cool.
That it was mainly in City Hall. So the next slide talked about making it convenient and even decentralized services should be represented at the central location. That was a discussion that a few people said as well. Fit multiple departments into the building. Satellite services that relate to each district in addition to services at City Hall. So some people made that comment. Ensure free parking availability, and then consider the future. So some of those considerations were, consider what is happening in downtown and pull it together with your downtown activities. Where will the City Hall be built and will additional space land be purchased? Of course, you know, you'll see that that's gonna be the question on the next survey coming up. Determine the size of the employee group, you heard that. Where the table was discussing the fact that once you know how many employees are gonna be at City Hall, then you can determine, how large it was and what kind of spaces you would use in it. Then the employee pool can and will grow with time, and that there should be a consideration that a hybrid workspace environment should be created. So.
Yes, that's
here-
really just saying.
Yeah.
Before you move on, I need an explanation for, the one dealing with, what each of the I guess what is at City Hall and what is in the community at satellite services? I don't really know, because to me, almost every district have pretty much the same needs. It may be a little bit off here or there, a little different, you know, it may not need as many inches of pipe as another district, but it needs the pipe. And when we take that and we try, and I look at satellite services, I would think that would be like permits and all that other good stuff. But if we're gonna have that satellite, why do we need it at City Hall as well?
Well, see, remember, these are suggestions that came from the public, and that has to be narrowed down by you all eventually.
Okay,
So it's not like it's set in stone. These are the
Okay,
things that people
okay.
are saying at their table.
If I could follow up on that, Roosevelt, it sounded like a dichotomy, but it really wasn't, because people said, at least the way I understood they were saying was, yes, we could have satellites, it would be a good idea to have some satellite stuff, but if you show up downtown and you should really have gone someplace else, there should be somebody there in downtown who can tell you, okay, here's what you need, here's why you have to go downtown, here's how to get there, you know? These are the hours of operation, so that they didn't feel like they wasted their time to go downtown and then find that they couldn't get what they needed downtown.
Yeah, if I
That's
may
the way I
add-
heard it.
Yeah, if I may add an example, so, yeah, one of the examples we heard was, if you wanna sign your child up for a camp, right now you can do that at your neighborhood park. But if you go to City Hall, you should also be able to do that, instead of having to then also go to the park.
I think it
So,
was a technology question as much as anything else. If you show up downtown and you want to do the
Right.
kid in the park, somebody downtown should be able to just plug in, even if you have to now plug into the Parks Department, you know, and say, this person wants to, you know, sign their child up. It's sort of like an ombudsman, that's the way the feeling I got. Somebody downtown who would sort of direct you to where you needed to go and help you get that information. It's just the whole satellite, no, we didn't
That's
hear.
not what I understood. What I understood was that, which I think is more in line with what Roosevelt was saying, is like, I need a building permit. So rather than me, if we put building services at City Hall, I'd rather me going downtown to get it. Why can't I go to just over to District 1 office and get my building permit there? That's what I'm thinking.
But you said that's gonna be one of our
Different
jobs.
people have different comments regarding, those are both true of what people heard.
Yeah.
But it could go back to if you're in the district office, they have the ability to get back to the central location of where that permit is. But you're right, I mean, different people said different things. That part example was given, and what you're saying, of course, because I think it came from your table too,
Okay,
as an example.
okay, thank you.
Okay,
So we need to delineate those two pieces if you would.
So I just want to add, because I agree with Roosevelt, though a lot of stuff is contradicting. We're talking about the centralization and decentralization at the same time, and half of the room wants this, another half wants this. So maybe we should focus on the stuff that the people agree to, which is I'm hearing free parking. That was the core components, which is the city manager. I believe there was 5 government components: the clerk, elected officials, city attorney, that they need to absolutely be together.
That's in the.
So
slide.
maybe we should just kind of looking those workshops, like what was said in common and what is still debating, because right now it's a mishmash, it's hard
It
to.
was what, we had to represent what people
What,
said.
exactly, what was said in common, like some stuff we agree to, but right now we putting this together and it's kind of like hard to understand where we're going with this. So I think it's time to start.
As a
At least
consultant, I can't start
identify the-
consolidating, I gotta tell you exactly what you said, or they will take the meeting out and represent it.
Well, at least we can identify the common grounds when we all agree or when people kind of
Okay,
feel
that,
like,
we can do that in the wrap up,
okay.
yeah, but I mean, right now, we got to represent what people say,
Yes,
yeah,
but let's start,
but we will begin to have a wrap up, we will.
okay, thank you.
Yes. But remember, you are supposed to be helping with that, because we're not supposed to be making decisions for you. Is that not correct?
that's my understanding.
Okay. I just want to be sure about that. Okay. I'm gonna get it together soon. Okay, so on the survey data, as you can see, community meeting, what was top was opportunity to meet elected officials and staff at City Hall. So what you're saying will begin to formulate what you were suggesting, ma'am, on what people wanted. And then, of course, community meeting spaces was next. And after that, then kind of a toss up between permitting and utility billing. And then other was what we have categorized over to the right. And then prefer to receive services online was the 3%. So that this begins to
The only 3% of the people who answered the survey prefer to get it online, that is a shock.
interesting. Interesting. You see, that's what I'm saying.
thought it said.
There's some people over here and some people over here. So we have to.
This is only 50 people.
Oh, but still,
That's right.
but it's the
Right.
53 people who went online,
That's
the
true.
survey.
But that's about 50 people that are still in the room.
What services do you expect or need from a future city? That's what the question was. They want to meet with their elected officials at their own.
That's interesting. Yes,
But
Peter.
I think the demographics of the people that have responded are predominantly
Older,
The zip codes.
older.
older, I think we're older.
Yes, yes.
That, when you looked around that room, that was an older room.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Okay, it is what it is.
So the next one is what public engagement opportunities would you like offered at a future city hall? And as you can see, it's the ones that we've been talking about.
Mhm.
City commission meetings at 22.9, public outreach meetings, 22.7. And then next advisory board meetings, that's what you all are all participating in now. And that's what they've been talking about. And then of course, the homeowners and civic association and the ceremony.
I
So,
thought it was interesting that the people who were very interested in history,
yes,
they had a delegation there. It was like 5 people there, just pushing the history piece. which shows you that when people want to get involved and make their voices heard, they were very loud about this. We want a space for historical records and historical and cultural exhibits and demonstrations, yeah. Uh-huh.
They did, education.
Yeah.
But don't forget, and I know you know this well, Chair, that there's the Fort Lauderdale Historical Society downtown.
Yeah.
They have all sorts of stuff and it's quite a big setup they have there. So before anyone goes too far down that path, we were to involve them.
Oh,
They
yeah.
are involved. They were the ones who were doing.
Oh,
Actually,
They were pushing their agenda.
they want to offload some of their stuff
Yeah.
onto City Hall is what it is.
But well, of course, they have the old settlement house, that's where they're at.
Yeah, but the way I heard it was that, you know, their place is falling apart and it's molding and leaking. And they would be just as happy to have, you know, the city take over these artifacts so they didn't have to work on it. Not necessarily something we want to support, but you could see where they were coming from, the opportunity that they saw
In a new building.
in a new building.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So the next question was rank the following public engagement space features from 1 to 4, of course, 1 being most important and 4 being least important. So as you can see, state-of-the-art technology. Got the most important there. And then comfortable and welcoming space. And then flexible space for both large and small groups. You can see that modular furniture is what people would like to see throughout, movable space throughout the new complex. So. That was. Any questions about this one? Nope. Next is, where would you prefer to meet your elected official? So you can see once again, that it's that central city hall location. And the satellite district office was kind of in the same area as having a virtual meeting. Once again. Of course, but you can see the neighborhood location on the other question, where would you prefer to participate in public engagement opportunities? Came in second to the city hall location. So people are wanting to have these meetings in their own areas, which I think, you know, the city commissioners are having those meetings in their respective districts, to my knowledge.
Well, they're virtual.
yes.
Well, the
Right now, they're virtual, but before, there are some district commissioners who actually have, meetings in.
They
their
had pre-agenda meetings.
I know 3 and 4.
yeah,
And 1, that's in person. Both of those in person.
right.
Person?
Yeah.
Before COVID, for sure.
Yeah. And now I got one at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm.
That's the one I went to. I mean, actually, I went to 2. Dorsey had one and Doris had, not Doris, but, Mel, my actor, they had a virtual. But yes, there were 2.
Well, we were gonna do a real one, but we had to go virtual too, yeah. Okay,
Okay, I misunderstood this one. This is neighborhood civic associations that you were talking about. Okay.
Oh, yes.
I was thinking of this entire district. So I'm, okay,
Well, but you know what?
I understand it now.
But actually District 3 does have meetings in person,
And
because I've gone. And 4.
4 having.
Is that what you were
So the
saying?
entire district
Yes,
gets together in that space.
Well,
to the extent that they come, yeah.
they had about the same, attendance that they did at these other meetings, 1 and 2.
One doesn't do that. 2, as far as I know, never did it. I've been at both those districts.
Oh,
Next one used to do it.
yeah.
They did.
Steve used to have.
Over in,
Steve used to have people. When City Hall was open and functioning, District 2, Steve used to have them. They were raucous.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
That was before COVID,
yeah.
they get to be that way sometimes.
I think to cut to the chase, I like the idea of the civic association presidents meeting. And that should be a presentation to them so that they can go out to their members.
So when the Civic Association presidents meet, now they met,
Well,
Once a month.
meet here for the city. I don't know if it's virtual now or if it's they're holding meeting for all the presidents of their communities. And that's a perfect place to hit them so it can trickle down.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, like tonight, there's a District 1 pre-agenda meeting, which is a virtual meeting. And if Jim doesn't do it, I'll do it, is to bring that up to some of the presidents of the civic association.
Yeah.
To remind them that there is this process going on.
Please.
We can move forward quicker and more complete if we have low participation, just like that.
Yeah, because it's the beginning of the month, so it would be a great time to be able to do that.
I don't even know if, when is the, appreciation night, in the,
Oh, yeah, they're gonna have a booth. Yes, Laura.
The 15th.
15.
So unite my neighborhood support night on the 15th, and
Yeah.
OMB will have a booth. for
so we can say the 17th is,
Neighbors.
yeah.
60, 50,
15th of
to
May.
50.
Right, it's right after Valentine's Day. Okay. So you can say tonight, right after Valentine's Day, neighbor support night. Should we do that? Just go get your own presentation.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so office management budget, we'll do like the big poster and the website will be up and we'll try to do some material.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities out there. We just have to kind of focus on them in advance and try to plan this thing to overwhelm them to participate.
So let me ask you something about I don't know. It's not the right time. Keep going. I don't want to divert.
Well, this was the question that was asked at the meeting, response to question received during the workshop on the planned placement of employees previously at the city. Remember that whole discussion of how
Right,
many
right.
employees are where? And so the number of employees on each Broward, suitable for the finance, city clerk, city commission, mayor, district 2, 3, and 4. And then also, in suite 1605 with the 16 folks with the city attorney. And in the tower, on the 14th floor, it's finance, city commission, district 1. And suite 1650, 74, that's where that whole finance group and human services are. And your big, number of employees is on the 21st floor with the city manager and public works, which was the discussion before, and how it's up for city.
So does this represent all the city employees or just the ones that work with us? Some people are still working hybrid?
So, yeah, there are folks that are still hybrid right now. The question that came up was of the 310 that used to work at the city hall, where will they be? Because the city slowly has over time secured different lease space. So this is where those 310 will end up. Right now, until March, when everyone moves to these locations, there are still folks that don't have offices.
So 310 is the head count for city employees.
No, for the folks who are at city hall. So
Who
we're
are at
only
City Hall.
focused in on employees that previously were located at city hall and where they will end up, and that's what this represents.
Okay. All right, but this is the intermediate plan. This is where we're all gonna be until the final decision is made.
I can't say yes, but this is where they're going now.
For now.
So I don't know if that's gonna be until the new city hall is constructed. I believe the term of the lease is 5 years that they're signing right now.
So this doesn't answer the question. How many people are we planning for in the new city hall?
So I think that's what this exercise will get us to, right?
Oh,
So at the
okay.
end, you're gonna have guiding principles and he may say, hey, we think you should do this or that. And then a decision will be made and then we'll move forward with design. So reimagining City Hall, this whole effort is trying to guide the city as to, at the end, what do we do? Understanding the old city hall is no more, do we combine the spaces? You know, we set the flag, is that people are gonna create some guiding principles and back to the commission and then we'll get the direction from them.
Well, the interesting thing is if we add 46 to 16, okay, that's 62. Those are the only people that really need to be, according to the surveys, if you want to talk about putting all of those people, well, not even
City-
finance,
you've got
no.
city manager in another building.
And
You've got city commissioner for District 1 in another building.
Right, so if you pulled out of those people, okay, the staff that the people said needed to be close together. The manager, the commissioners, the city attorney, whoever, whatever that list was. That's not a whole hell of a lot of people, is it?
But they also may not know who needs to be there. That was their opinion. And remember, we gotta get city staff to think it too. I know I'm talking out of place, but
No,
that is part of it, because when, I mean, I hear what you're saying, Marilyn, but sometimes people are given information and they may not have all of them.
That way always been. I just, I have this question that lingers every time we start talking about employees, wherever. Large corporation right now is forcing everybody back from home into the building in which they operate. Where is the city on this? Are the city trying to bring people
Yeah.
back? Okay, so do we look at the number of employees that prior to the building going bad, working from City Hall, compared to what the city would need working at City Hall? Now, how do we mesh that? How do we come up with a number?
I think, again, I think at the end of this, we'll say we think we split it together, not together. You know, you'll have some guiding principles. You may say, we think that it should all be centralized, or it should all be decentralized, and that's how you determine your number. Is once you figure out which services will be at City Hall, then we could tell you, who provides the services.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I have a problem with AI taking over or in doing the jobs of people who are currently either working from home or from the office. And I have no idea.
I'm thinking that AI should just be augmented, at least for the next 5, 10 years. We're not doing a wholesale, I might be, we're not doing a wholesale replacement on AI, okay? Look at how fast it moves.
I agree with you.
I think we should think of it as an augmenting thing, all right? We should do it. We should do what we're gonna do as if we were gonna do it the old fashioned way. And think of AI as how to make that better. That would be my thought, but that's really just a.
So similar point to Roosevelt's. But we did hear from the manager that he has a preference to bring as many people for management purposes from his point of view. He has a preference to bring as many people, yes, that are senior, that he regards as relevant to decision making by the manager's office, to have them all under one roof. So although we're being given, this task, I think the manager does have a role to play in this. That's one point. And then the second point is, you're right, people are being forced back to work. Pretty much universally, from what I'm hearing and reading, they're now on a 4-day work week. Everybody decided on these Fridays. So that argues that we need 20% less space, because only 80% of the workforce be in on this given day.
I still need a desk.
That's, you rotate around, that's, a lot of people work
Okay.
that way.
A lot of do, yep, workspace, shared workspace. All right, we're clearly not closer. We have more information, but I don't think we're closer to making an idea yet. All right. Okay, but this is very relevant because at one of the most recent city hall meetings, the mayor started talking about the federal building. Okay, that's a huge building. I mean, if you're only gonna have, 120 people end up being the people you want at City Hall, that doesn't look good anymore. But if you're gonna bring everybody back, then that building looks spectacular.
That's
So-
building west of.
That's the federal,
30
building, the green building with the with the steps and the fountain going up, right on the corner of Broward and
Third.
Third.
Oh, cool.
That's, yeah, right at the courthouse, federal courthouse, yes. For the record, Shane Grabowski joined us, thank you. Okay.
Close enough. Great. Great.
Grabowski. At least I'm calling him Shane now, I used to call him Michael. I'm making progress. All right, shall we continue, please?
Yes, indeed. So of course, we're gonna be saying to the people what today's purpose is. It'll be about discussing amenities. So we're giving them a couple examples
Oh,
of.
can I, before we get into
Yes.
today's purpose,
Yes.
go back to this purpose? I was just on the website, okay? And when is the results of the survey, workshop 2 survey gonna be posted?
That's
Because right now only,
That's what we just went
We just
over.
went over.
no,
I'm
posted
sorry.
on the webpage.
After this.
Thank you. That's the answer. Okay. So that when I send out a notice,
Yeah.
they'll have everything up to date. That's great. Thank you. Today would be good. All right, continue.
All right, so again, we just gave some examples of things that we said before and things that we actually heard from other people when they were mentioning what they thought were amenities that should be considered. So we're just proposing these to them. And then we're gonna get into the data again, about what amenities City Hall has now. Well, right now it's just our, yeah.
And it's like an afterthought on the walls. Could be so much more. Yeah, okay.
So again, we're gonna give them some examples. Don't wanna hone in on, but at Sunrise, we told you about what we did see. Some Wi-Fi spots, community rooms, obviously, place where they can get some snacks. Others were, showing, what they had for Sunrise at a whole complex, but as you can see, they have a pool, athlete, so. That's just, once again, doesn't have to happen at Fort Lauderdale. But in Coral Springs, very smaller, we talked to you about the, place from, place for mothers. The Chamber of Commerce is there. So we were just showing some of that. Remember the community room with a little kitchen where the civic associations and others could meet in City Hall, have their meetings, and have some of these meetings. Again, just food for thought. In Boston, there's this whole outside area where people could congregate, and then the right picture there is showing where they have ceremonies. The same. Again, some outside picture for people. Study this. So with that, then we move into the breakout session where we're gonna do the same as we did before. How to facilitate, yes.
Before we move there, I just need a definition on the first slide into this session. When it says open space, there was 2 types of open space. One was, I can sit in my office and see into his office and on from his office through the window outside. That was referred to as open spaces, as well as having tables and benches outside in the open. So are we to consider both of those?
Yeah, internal and external, that's how we want to do it. Internal space inside City Hall, external space
People
outside.
won't understand that. No,
So we're gonna have to explain.
I think you're gonna have to split up
Okay.
parks and open space.
Okay,
Parks being, places where you recreate with trees and, gather. And open spaces being interior open spaces
Yes.
where you gather and
Yes.
meet people and things like that. Yeah,
Okay.
good point.
yes,
Catch.
excellent point. So some of the examples showed that, but I do understand what you're saying. We
Yeah.
need to be
James,
More explicit.
So, again, I think this is like my comments from the last budget cycle. I think this is a weak spot. These pictures do not drive discussion. So if I go back and I look at these, I'll start off. All right, there's a vending room, conference room. And then we have, I don't know what Coral Springs, these first 2 pictures are supposed to show, then show the.
Well, let me explain, so I can just say what it is. So Coral Springs is showing essentially the entryway and a security area with a security guard.
So how's that amenities?
It's just, also it's supposed to be showing, though we didn't capture it well. They actually have some tables out in that hallway where people can actually open up those tables and actually work in that hallway area.
We don't have that picture, so.
Okay,
I'll send it to you.
So then we get to Boston. And it looks like a playground, which that to me is okay, outside space. And then there's a picture right under the mayor's office there of people standing outside giving speeches.
That's the speaker's area.
you know what, I think, if you had
For
little
ceremony.
captions, if you had little
Okay.
captions under each.
Okay.
To describe what.
And then the next two don't mean anything.
Again, that's the open space where people can congregate.
So how about a picture of, you know, people strumming a guitar, people listening to them, or an actual cafe or something like. But, you know, to me, those are. I don't know where
You
you.
want more descriptive, more
No,
descriptions as to what's actually
I'm
happening in the space?
Challenging the photos that are selected for this presentation do not drive the discussion. That's what I'm saying. And I said that at the last time we had this review as well, and they improved.
Yeah, definitely.
There were better pictures at the presentation. We actually had it. These again do not drive the discussion. We have to drive some decision-making, energize the people there, get some feedback. Ultimately, we're responsible for coming up with guidelines. I want to hear what the people have to say. And I want the consultants to help us get there, facilitate those discussions. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so if we have a description, this community room can be used by civic and, civic association. Perfect.
That's what we need.
Okay, and then they have a little kitchenette where they can serve food. That's
Yeah,
nice.
Right.
Excellent.
Okay, all right, so we'll label them.
Right, and the one for Sunrise that has the very first one for Sunrise, this shows that there can be multiple facilities co-locating with City Hall.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's what the purpose was.
All right,
So we just need to describe them better.
yeah,
Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
Thank you.
okay, Peter.
One big question that I'm interested in is whether people feel that their city hall should somehow be a physical representation of the pride that they have in their city, or whether it should just be basically another office block with a name over the top and maybe some stuff inside. Now, if it's number one, it will be far more expensive. But if people, if people think it's necessary to have a building that represents the city that they live in, because the Boston one sort of does that, in my view, and many others as well. And in years past, it pretty much was accepted that you did that, but it's expensive to do that. I don't really have a view on it, except, when people talk about City Hall, I would immediately bring up that picture in my mind of the brutalist building that we had. So it was kind of a statement. So I don't know how we get at that, but people just want a plain office building, or do they want something a bit more spooky?
And I hear what you're saying. I hear you all. I hear the elected officials saying we want an iconic building.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I've heard that a couple
yeah.
of times.
good, yes. I'm going to, no, I'm not.
But don't
Maybe
forget,
the
they're
question-
spending our money in saying that,
Right. May-
so we can advise otherwise.
Maybe what we need to ask them as a question is, how important is it for you that the new city hall is an iconic, recognizable building? Versus,
Getting into the design aspect.
no, not really, because we're not gonna ask them how to design it, but I think it's a good question. Do you care what this city hall is gonna look like? Is it important to you that the city hall be a special, recognizable, unique building?
And that historically has always been.
Well,
Show me a city where it's just an office building.
I'm sure.
Pictures, anybody?
I'm sure there are many, but don't forget, James, that when you have one of these iconic buildings, 50% of the time they bring problems with it. You know, because you're extracting the library was an iconic building, it's got recognition, and it has problems associated, more expensive to maintain and so forth. You know, I mean, I sort of agree with the idea of having an iconic building, but it brings problems with it and it's more expensive.
That is not our task to get involved in that kind of architectural. detail.
No, and I agree with you. We gotta stay away from that because some of us could spend a long time just doodling and we're not gonna do that, not going there, okay? But I think it's an important question when that people should be asked, how important is it to you that your city hall should be?
But didn't that come up in the very first session?
I wished it had, instead of in the first session of seeing those glass boxes. The question really should have been, do you like glass boxes or not glass boxes? The question should have been, how important is it to you that your city hall be a recognizable,
Let's write that down as adding to the,
yeah,
we haven't finished the survey.
oh, good.
How many-
Unfortunately, it doesn't belong here.
Yeah.
Ranking all of those. Just.
Yeah.
Looks pretty.
So, but you know,
I-
the first thing that we did talk about when we were going over the space allocation, the first section was for the people. And the people said, a place you want to go, a place to come together, consider a campus that becomes a gateway to Fort Lauderdale, combined blocks. And it said a customer service oriented facility.
Customer service oriented.
I know what you mean.
You know, you see what I know
I
you
do.
see what we're struggling to get to.
I do.
Okay, so I'll trust you to try and formulate something. Yes, Jerry.
But I went to the Roosevelt School of Finance.
Right.
If you're gonna do that, rankings of people's functionality. then What are you gonna do? It's that, in 99-1, everybody wants an icon.
Well, everybody wants a tunnel, okay? They have that same argument, the same problem here.
That's
Well, I
binary.
didn't say everybody.
That one's more binary. This one's features and functions. Right?
And
And every one of those is a cost trade-off.
And I've asked, do we want to look good? That's, you know, we want something that's real pretty.
You have to do both.
And
Well, we have to do something in the middle. That's good.
Champagne taste and a ginger ale wallet.
Yes. Okay, can we let Cheryl continue
Okay,
here?
I'm sorry.
So, well, we're doing the same breakouts and we'll be more definitive about what we're saying. But most of these came from them about examples of what they'd like to see in amenities. So,
Okay.
do you all want to add something to this list?
So what's the question to the people at the table? What will they be asked to discuss?
What amenities?
Amenities. And we're giving them examples. What would you like to see in an amenity? Do you
So
want
that's
us
the
to?
question.
Yes.
Okay.
Are we
Think it's
going
the next
to
slide.
go over this? This is a tricky subject, amenities versus space, okay? So what do you think about the concept of going over the survey prior to everybody sitting down? Because then they'll.
Yes, we can do that. Yes.
Because then
We had-
another head is thinking,
Yes,
well.
That's
they
what we had
asked-
talked about last time. So yes, that's a definite thing that we ought to do the survey, have them take the survey.
Right
But see,
there.
some of them had taken it, but that's okay.
Do it again.
Yes, that's fine with me.
And then they can sit down and argue amongst themselves. Well, why did you say this and not that?
Well, they're
Well,
getting-
whatever.
they're not gonna argue.
Agree. Okay? Because this one is very hard.
Yes.
This one is very hard.
Yes,
I
yes.
was getting, we certainly are.
Yes, we did. We had good arguments going.
Okay, so that's what we'll do. And then the wrap up, of course, is there'll be reporting.
All right, so the questions are, what amenities would you desire and utilize? Other than city business and services, what would you like to see? I like that question. That's a good question.
You wanted the survey.
Oh, okay, you went to the survey.
Yeah.
Sorry, okay. Yes, go right here.
Okay. 3, are there any non-essential services that should be included in the CEO? Okay, so that's an answer. What's in the drop-down text box? Or no, you have to write it in.
You're writing it down.
All right.
Mhm.
Where would you like this is a loaded one. Where would you like the new city hall to be located? Select a spot on the map.
We're gonna have a map.
Oh, look at this, adding to the city's discussion, which included exploring opportunities to repurpose the federal courthouse. Look at that. Interesting.
Cause it came up in a meeting.
Yeah, I'm not sure that a whole bunch of people in the general public know where the federal courthouse
No,
is.
that's right.
Well, you can describe it like you did her. Where you said.
Oh, no,
Waterfall.
that was for your good. We're not gonna put that in the survey. That was so you all knew why we added it, because originally you said don't ask that question,
Yeah.
and then the commission asked.
They put
us
it right
to
out there.
ask that question.
Yeah, all right.
So
So-
Laura, I have
Somebody
a
might
question. Who owns that land where the federal courthouse? Is that federal money?
Yeah, so this came up in the commission's goal setting workshop, and the mayor indicated to the other members of the commission that there's conversations with the GSA and the Government Services Administration, which is the federal government, wants to know from the city what they'd like to see done with that space. So one of the options the mayor brought up was repurposing it for city hall.
Would they use it as is, or would they tear it down and rebuild?
No.
I believe it would, the conversation, and Yvette chime in if you remember more, because she was next to me in the meeting. How I understood it was if we were to ask for it, we would have to keep it as a historic building. So we could refurbish it, but you wouldn't tear it down.
And this is the GSA, they would just give it to the city of Fort Lauderdale?
That's what I heard.
That's
No.
$1.
No, that's close of getting it, yeah.
But no, I haven't been involved in those discussions, but the discussion was at the workshop when it occurred.
Well, I think, architecturally, it is a significant building.
Oh, it is,
and
there's
that-
no doubt about it.
And it has,
Architectural
and it has
design.
problems.
But it has a lot of problems.
Well, as
A lot of leaks, I've
Commissioner
heard.
Herbst said, you'd have to take it down to the studs. It needs a new roof, you take it down to the studs,
Yeah, it's been
So-
whatever it is, that's concrete.
And
But that's not for us to say, you know?
so is
Our
it,
guideline's gonna probably be something like, try and do this cost effectively or something like that. And if they determine that it is cost effective to do that, then they're meeting our guidelines.
so is this bullet point part of the discussion on the table? Yes, I didn't make.
Only where would you like city hall?
Yeah, so
Only where would you like city? hall?
Yeah,
Not
and
the-
so we wanted to indicate, so we had a conversation with this group before and you asked us to remove that question. So we're indicating to you that we're adding it back for that purpose. That was just,
But-
Organization question,
Yeah.
but not about consider
right.
the federal building.
No, we're letting you know that's why it was added back. So this is the purposes of the discussion today. So
Now
the
I understand.
ITF knows we did listen to you when you asked us to remove
Now I
it.
understand.
Thank
But
you.
now we're adding it back because it was requested for that.
Okay.
But my question is this the right place to do it?
You could do it in the wrap-up session otherwise, that would be the other, because it's, but as you said, it's not an
It's not a
amenity.
space, it's
Yeah.
not an amenity
Yeah.
question. The only way you could turn it into an amenity question would be if you wanted to, do you think it's important to preserve the historic federal courthouse? But
Yeah, so I think the reason
I
we
would-
tried to squish it in here is
Yeah.
because they want to have that discussion with the GSA sooner than later. So we were trying to kind of fit a round peg in.
let's take a leap.
Yeah,
There is that.
Yes.
That's something like that. There is the question of should it be the greeting to Fort Lauderdale?
Should it represent Fort Lauderdale? Should it be?
Well, first of
Something
all,
like,
there's no way in or out of Fort Lauderdale, but it's nice.
that's, well, we can. But the fact that the federal courthouse is on Broward Boulevard and not, would be much more prominent to be there than to be a block in, which nobody knows it's even there.
That's true.
But part of one of the questions was talking about a gateway to the city. And where federal building or the old city hall, neither one of those are gateways.
Well, but they're better than the place that we got now.
Well, it could be, but when I interpret gateway, this is something that you see first,
Hmm.
all right?
It's the wrong
All
term.
of coming in, Fort Lauderdale on Sunrise, you see the gateway to the city of Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
You see it on Broward Boulevard. So when I see gateway, then I would expect you're gonna put City Hall out at the beginning of the city and not downtown.
That's the wrong word, gateway.
Okay, I.
It should be a prominent location, prominent visual location.
I agree with that.
How do we capture that? Okay,
So, just to wrap up, you don't want that in the survey or you're.
let's do it. I mean,
Keep it here,
otherwise,
okay.
I don't think, they put it on the table, there's no point in not doing it.
And any
Okay,
other?
because that would generate at the tables the discussion of why would that be important? People might talk about, well, if that's a possibility, is that a prominent location an important thing? And that will be in the discussion, they will say, when we do the wrap-ups, yeah, we looked at that, we thought that it'd be a good idea because it's in a prominent location. That shows up on the responses, that's an indication of people think a prominent location is important. All right, let's try that, let's take it down.
And that last item, do you have any additional input that you'd like to share regarding the new city hall? Was trying to go to Mike's suggestion, that it was an opportunity to provide, feedback on items other than just amenities in the survey.
Sure.
So is
Sounds
that kind of what you had in mind, Mike?
We good. Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to a really good workshop this time. And let's all do our best to share it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're on to the next item on the agenda, and that is an update on the new water treatment plant and associated infrastructure. Do you want to take over? I don't know. Sure.
So, is this, Omar, you gonna do this? This one is this you, Omar? Wait. Carry on, it's all right. Okay. Yeah, that's all right. Go ahead, standing in.
Hi, Daniel Fisher, Senior Project Manager with Public Works, just to give you a brief update on the water unit. All right, so you all know, the agreement was approved at commission in February 2023. It took us about a month to get all the contracts signed and insurance issues, so in the contract, you'll see it as, subsequent conditions, so from there, we have 42 months to get this thing built and operational. So the plan is required to be online in September of 2026. Yes.
Can you use that mic or something? Because when you turn your head, it's like, I'm half deaf anyway.
Is there a mic up here?
There's no monkey. They just got it strange.
Kind of like you're in the office or we can hear you.
We're about 25% of the way through contract time, and to date, we paid project company about $11 million. Project companies, their equity portion was just spent in January, so now the city will be putting the bill for the rest of the shop. If you guys went to the groundbreaking, you would see that they pretty much been doing a lot of mass excavation, and they brought the site down to elevation 0, so they probably cut about 8 feet of fill. So if you guys ever go out there, you'll just see a giant mountain of dirt, and the plan is to start from the bottom up and do all the piping, foundations, and then backfill up. The next big activity on site is the drill rig should be showing up for the deep wells. That should be clear, or either this, and that's about a 2-year operation. And then we are in the building department permitting process, so we expect to get those issued sometime this month or next. Walk the races.
And how many wells?
This-
How many?
Slides aren't moving.
2 injection wells?
Well, they're about 3,000 feet.
Thank you.
Okay, and then the city has its infrastructure obligation for enabling works. January 9, we got a comprehensive agreement signed for the 48-inch water main, so they are going to start constructing that in April of this year. And that was about 48 million. Yes.
Understand there's only going to be one 48-inch line going from the prospect from the new plant to the 5-inch.
Correct.
Has anybody considered not that we've had any problems in the past with like the raw water,
getting drilled through.
have an alternate one in case something happens.
Yeah, so part of our next CIP cycle, we're gonna put in CIP to rehab one.
If something happens at 48, then you have an alternate.
Correct. Yeah,
Excellent.
I think we have a 42 and a 40.
Okay. Excellent.
And then designs for the rest of the enabling works, the water, the sewer, the power, those designs are all underway, and we should have our first set of cage-ready plans.
That's very good news, because my nightmare is the plant comes online and we haven't done our work. That
It
would
was,
be-
it
that would
was
be a
that
nightmare.
48-inch water main, that's really good.
Yeah,
I'm glad that way.
okay, does anybody have any questions? Yes, James.
Can you go back to the timeline slide?
Sure.
So are we on track?
We're on track.
Okay, that's the
Right.
question I wanted to answer. So what is the difference between substantial completion and final completion?
So substantial means they have to start producing water.
Say that again,
Substantial means they have to start producing water.
producing water.
So they may have to finish landscaping or paint the building. Minor thing, but commercial in the contract, it's referenced as commercial operation.
Okay, so September 16th of 26, we're gonna have water coming out of there.
Correct.
That we can drink.
And we're gonna have a new 48-inch main line going from there to
Yeah.
5-inch.
That needs to be in place in August of 2025.
Nope.
So can you give me a few more examples of what would happen? What needs to get to to final completion? Following substantial completion?
They have to complete 100% of the construction activities. They have to provide us record drawings and finish their punch list pretty much. And then demo.
Yes, Peter?
Can you describe how the project overall management is set up? There's a city team and the city has a consultant, and then there's the design build people.
Correct. So at the top, let's say it's the city, and Hazen and Sawyer is our undrafted project for the next 3 years.
So do you have regular meetings with the design build contractor every
Well,
week?
we have, yeah, that's our standing meeting every week. We have meetings every day about the status. So we're in constant contact.
And do you discuss design things related to the actual water plant itself, the design build part of the contract, or just more matters of coordination?
I would say everything.
Everything? So you're pretty familiar at this point with almost the exact design, I'll call it at least the 90% design for the water plant.
Fairly familiar.
So Peter, just to add to that, they send submittals of all the plans, PNIDs, everything. So we know what they're building. So we have to agree on those and there is a process for that.
So they don't need it. Do they need any building permits?
Yeah, they
Yes.
do.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
We're in some permitting right now.
Since you took the floor there, he accused me of being a penny pincher.
I did not. I accused you of being a dean of the financial.
When we come to things like that, especially design build, I'm always concerned about the overrun with costs, not so much time-wise, but cost-wise. And you're saying that daily or weekly or monthly, a design update is being furnished to, I guess, to your office.
So, sorry to interrupt.
And-
So our contract with project company lump sum.
Wow.
But we have,
$85 million. Project company's contract with Hewlett is design build.
in our contract with Hazen, that's another contract, that's our owner's rep. So they're the ones that help, look at all these submittals and they go through it with him and whoever else is on the city.
But do you make progress payments, correct, the design build contract? And the amount of money going in is in the proportion of like 3-to-1.
Yeah.
City dollars to what the design build is putting in. So when they make an application for payment, is that how it works?
No.
No?
So project company was required to spend their portion of the equity. So it was like $120 million. So for the past year, they've just been banking on it.
So we haven't had to pay anything yet.
We've had to pay some things that were related to enabling works. And then last month, we made a first payment for the actual plan.
So we made our first payment to what again?
The actual plan. So if we had Series A funding and Series B funding, Series B funding is for the plan. So we just started Series B payments.
So I thought you said they had to spend all their money first before we.
They did.
They did.
Yep, January, they ran out.
we've got $125 million into this thing already. And it's just,
Big hole.
it's a big hole.
Yep,
We were impressed, but it's just a big hole.
big hole, and a lot of stuff on order.
Wow, 125 billion, million gets you a big hole. Okay.
So. We have been doing
Yes,
PFAS testing.
yes.
The EPA came out with their proposal last year, so over the past 6 months.
Can you just, on the computer screen, when you blow up the PDF, it looks like somebody wrote it with a Q.
Yeah, the image came in kind of not so great, but the average concentration in the wells is about 20 parts per trillion, and the new rule is 4.
Oh, God.
So how many wells you guys tested?
All 29.
The two
Which- how
lines,
many?
the red line and the green line,
One of those is PFOs and one of them PFAS.
Oh,
So it's just a different
which
variation.
one is which?
The one on top is PFAS. And I can send you guys the clear image.
Thank you.
And how many wells again?
29.
29?
And we have to get down to 4?
4.
Is our plan capable of getting down to 4?
That's our next step.
What do you mean the next step?
You gotta have a technology that could produce 50 million gallons a day and knock 29 down to 4.
Wait a minute, I thought our technology was so superior that we didn't have to worry about this.
But nobody knew it was gonna be 4 parts per trillion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And we are responsible for getting it down to 4.
If the rule is implemented as.
Oh,
It's my understanding that EPA hasn't, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've been dealing with some other consultants. And they involved with EPA's approval, as far as going ahead and requiring municipal water plants to meet the PFAS requirements. I didn't know that was already has happened, but it's imminent. My understanding is.
It hasn't been implemented yet, but we're getting ready for it, because if we do need to add something or reserve space for it, we need to do it.
The fortunate part is that the filtering plant, that's what usually removes PFAS.
Correct, so the nanofiltration will remove a significant portion of it. It's just how much the ion exchange will, and if we need to add it.
okay, so let me ask you a question about that. The way I remember reading the comprehensive agreement, if there is a governmental regulation change that requires something more than what they agreed to,
They don't know.
we pay for it. We got any idea? Well, it's too soon.
We have,
It's too soon.
we have orders of magnitude cost estimates.
Can you tell me that without scaring me to death?
If we add on an extra train of ion exchange, it's about 100 million.
Oh, no.
So
Because you
Yes.
know,
There goes another 100 million.
He said 100?
He did say 100.
Oh.
no, don't ever,
There goes.
everybody shouldn't get all of Twitter yet.
Okay,
so I have a question.
yeah, Martha.
Who conduct that testing?
Jacobs. So Jacobs is project companies owned, as well. So they're like our agent.
So they are procured. Did you hear about the class settlement lawsuits against 3M and DuPont?
I did, I think somebody got 100 million recently, or I think the city and retain counsel for litigation.
Do they have?
So there is a class action settlement in the United States going
Tell me about it.
for the cities that they conduct testing in the PFAS on the drinking water source. Everybody by default are participating in this class action lawsuits. If the city conducted testing and it looks like they just did, they can submit the results to the attorneys. That has to be signed agreement with the attorneys to represent the class action lawsuit. And it's calculated based on how much PFAS was discovered times how much water is produced in the city. And there's a formula
Okay.
for financial assistance.
Mhm.
And then the big companies that are producing the PFAS, which is the biggest one in the United States, 3M, DuPont. It's a lot of other smaller companies, but those settlements are much smaller. But there was, don't quote, but there was in the billions already settlements signed from the 3M and DuPont. And they calculated how much money they can pay out to the city. That money can be used for any project in the city. We can reinvest in the drinking water treatment, we can build a city hall, they really do not care what the city is gonna do with this money. But there is a settlement that it's in
It's
action
like the
already.
tobacco settlement.
For me,
It's like the tobacco settlement.
Correct.
Yeah. So it would behoove the city to join that lawsuit, depending on how much it would cost us to join that lawsuit.
there is no cost, I believe the attorneys, they only getting the retainers. So varied from 10 to 20%, the price from your settlement. And, I suggest to reach out to the city attorney and I can provide some contacts.
I
Who
think it's
is,
definitely right to do that.
who is the attorneys that they can represent in the settlement? One of them was the city of Stewart. There was a first city in Florida that actually started this settlement going and class action lawsuit. So we know their attorneys. A lot of cities participate in that. If there is a testing already conducted. So
Well, if we're going to do that, we need to send a communication to the commission. That's how we do it.
I
We
am
would
not
say,
sure.
at this meeting, we discussed this lawsuit, potential lawsuit. What, do you have?
there
any-
was a class action. There was already
We
the,
discussed a class action lawsuit and we would request, it would behoove the city to investigate it, something like that.
Right, city attorney.
I can share the contacts to the attorneys that they can represent the city, but that has to be agreement between the city attorney and another attorney.
Okay,
My suggestion is because there is a data already. That needs to be, that, and you guys already know you have a PFAS, it's kind of, advised to participate, might as well you already.
can we hold that to the general discussion amongst ourselves? I've got it down as number one in a communication to the city about the lawsuit. Because I have some other things that I would like to communicate to the city for discussion. So let's have that discussion as part of our general discussion, but I'm delighted you brought this up because this is all great new information to me. And $100 million scares me to death.
Yes, well, that's maybe not enough, right?
Oh, who knows? We just don't know, right? But we know we gotta go from 26 at least down to 4 at this point.
And also just to piggyback on what Ralph said, it is a EPA proposal. However, we're expecting some final rule December this year. All the cities are working with rule and costs nationwide a lot of money to meet those compliance 4 parts per trillion. Like, I'm sorry, I forgot the name, but there is a huge impact on the utilities across the nation. So we are watching that rule. But I think it's worth to notice that EPA cannot just pass the rules without the Congress approval. So there cannot be unfunded mandate. But we need to pass through the budget through the Congress to have money to provide grants and state support to meet utilities to help us to meet that rule, right? So there is a lot of discussion. Last year was very hectic. There was heated discussion. This year is kind of slowing down because I guess the EPA is seeing the financial impact on the utilities. And the exposure of PFAS everywhere. I'm drinking with a plastic straw, we have in the air, we have all our surroundings, the PFAS, right? We have in the makeup, we have in the nail polish, and that's actually something on very important how the samples are being collected.
Foam that extinguishes,
Correct.
fireplace.
But gloves,
Miami,
gloves.
a couple of years back
Yeah,
or so.
yeah.
Gloves, the kitchen, where everywhere, the clothes, what we're wearing. So I think there was a lot of push last year, but this year the EPA is kind of realizing that it's actually not necessary. The water may cause those health effects. Maybe we need more research to that. So
Well-
we are watching this rule. I don't want to say it's going to happen or not, but it's a nationwide problem. So
But at this moment, the rule is set to come out, whatever the rule is set
it's
to,
proposed.
proposed to come out in December of this year.
By December of this year, we should have a decision, either it's a final or we just gonna require more research.
Could we get really lucky and the standard ends up being 26?
But
One can only hope.
I got a related question.
Yes.
What's the current chatter? 4 parts per trillion, the metrology has to be pretty good.
I've heard people say that it's a ridiculous number because you're not
can't
sure
measure.
your instrument.
That's
Well-
one of the problems.
Well, maybe that will prevail upon the powers that be not to do anything foolish like that and to raise that number up. Except, of course, I'm sure that Boyd will have something
Well,
to say about
don't
it.
forget, this one is a little different than all the other ones. This one's coming as a result of the groundswell. People don't know what the 4 letters stand for, but are demanding it out
Yeah,
of their drinking water.
Well, this is
So
people.
there's a groundswell that are pushing at the
Well, it's
politicians.
the same as lead. I mean, everybody, lead, we gotta get the lead out.
Yes,
There's
so
another question I have about lead.
That's not
Well,
what that
lead's
means.
water soluble, so that'll take care of that.
so
Let Marta continue.
the lead is a final rule and it's a huge impact, financial impact on the utilities.
Mhm.
We have compliance October this year. The service line replacement, galvanized required replacement, so that was a study done by the EPA. And I think the fact that those 2 rules are being proposed at the same time, I think the EPA is realizing there's a lot of financial impact on the utility. That may be too much.
Yeah.
However, I'd like to also mention that I agree, they only testing the water source, not after the treatment.
Mm.
It's a water source, so that's the decision, what kind of treatment we're gonna need, right?
Right.
The settlements that they were signed, the 3M and DuPont, that the biggest producers of the methane. So that's the payout kind of, we would pay to the cities, but the moment when we have a PFAS in the groundwater, most likely the only way, that goes to the public, that we're gonna have to put the nanofiltration and methane.
Okay,
So
so
we kind of circling money around.
circling money around the drain is what we're doing. This is going down.
So just to
Okay,
clarify,
yes.
we are part of the lawsuit. We are ready.
You are?
Yes.
Oh, you
We
are?
don't need to say
We
anything.
are, so you don't need to bring that.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Very
well,
nice, good, very good.
so
Can you give us some information about that?
We can get some.
There must be a memo somewhere or something.
Okay.
yes, there was 2 deadlines for that, and one of them was if you had the PFAS discovered in the previous UCMR 5, which was unregulated contaminant monitoring rule by the EPA. That deadline was February this year. And the second deadline is actually next year to submit the data. So we have a whole year
To submit this
to
data.
submit this data. Because I just don't know when was they collected and when the results came out. I don't know the details, but definitely it's a time to participate. So
Okay, so Omar, if you could get the city attorney to send us a little memorandum about what's the status of our participation in the lawsuit, that would be very good.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So you mentioned lead. Lead is lead is actually fine. We're pretty good on lead, aren't we? We've been looking at lead.
Not the airport.
Oh, that was the question somebody asked me to ask.
Yeah,
But he did part of their due diligence, they just wanted to know what was there, they tested it, and it was orders of magnitude less than that.
Right.
So we're good on lead.
but they're doing some lead testing here at the airport. They already have a consultant that is gonna take samples in the next month or so, and they should have a report, yes, in a few months.
Let me say this, that I talked with the city manager some time back regarding the lead that was detected at the airport, and we found they had a Sun Sentinel article on it that it exceeded, their test exceeded what they had reported. My concern was with the aircraft, especially those still using the leaded gas and fumes, the Prospect Wellfield and our to be new water filtration plant needs to also be checked. That's what my recommendation was to the city manager. And also, not only the lead part of it, but to do a test for PFAS on there as well, because if there's, this thing is actually really going to break out. I've done a little bit of research, and even those frying pans that you have no stick
Yeah,
surface, guess what?
I love them.
And
Take them away.
so there's a number of things that are being used, but once the PFAS gets in the water, it's a real danger. And to cause cancerous and all sorts of stuff. There's a lot that hasn't been definitively stated, but it's suspect of causing a lot of things.
Can I follow up on Ralph's, if we've tested for lead and we have no problem, this subsequent and additional testing at the airport, will that change our situation, do you think?
It shouldn't, but if you had any lead, you will have more here at the airport than you will have
Anyway.
at the wellfield, yeah.
But having lead in the soil at the airport doesn't necessarily mean there's lead in the water.
Not necessarily, and if they tested it and it's magnitudes higher than it's supposed to be, so.
So why are we testing for lead at the airport?
I was talking to Rufus the other day,
Yeah,
and he mentioned it, so you had that question, and I started talking to him, and he said they're doing some testing in the next 3 months or so.
Remember, lead
I don't know all the details.
Lead is water soluble, and I happened to be at Markham Park many years ago, and there's the skeet trap and skeet shooting with the lead pellets. And one of my questions was, there's a lot of people out there in the western part of Broward that have wells, and lead is water soluble, so it's just a matter of time, depending on, it's moving southward into people that have wells. It could represent a potential threat to their health. So a lot of things that come out here, you just don't realize a drop of salt can cause something.
And he's willing to present that report on one of these meetings when he has the results.
okay, so we'll put that on an agenda, the
Right.
testing of lead at the airport and any potential impacts on our water source. Thanks. On the list. Okay, all right, does anybody have any more questions? Because we need a few minutes on I&I, and then we need a few minutes to talk a little bit about where we're going on a number of issues.
Oh, that
Is that
Okay,
the last
who's
one?
gonna do the I&I?
Another slide.
I think he has more presentation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There's some pictures, one of the end of a later.
Pictures.
This updated rendering plan.
That's the picture I think I sent to Vanessa,
Picture.
Jerry. That's the picture I sent to Vanessa.
That one.
Blank.
Yep,
Yeah, the plan.
Yeah, it's a
I
good
saw it.
picture.
a lot of clearing, grubbing. Buster.
Yeah.
4-inch water main, the slab, the power crane. A deep sump for wastewater.
Okay, just a little visual. That's what I think of the $1 billion
Started
gets.
at 48.
Okay, thank you very much.
She was for me. Were we talking?
Right, that was like.
Thank you.
Oh.
Good to see you out of the cast too. Cast, weren't you in a cast at one time, BLA? Wrong guy. Okay,
Hurt myself with that.
all right, I&I, our favorite subject.
Brandy will be presenting on it. He's got, Brandy. Oh, you want that instead? Okay.
How's the water, Madam Chair?
It's good, it's nice and cold too.
Now lead, right?
But
2 weeks.
I bet you that comes from a tank and not from the city. Doesn't come from.
Oh, well, I do drink tap water. I think the city is doing great work. You know, it's a lot of compliance behind for them to send the water to the customers, so I trust that they're doing the work. I drink the tap water.
Oh, that you got perfect, right? That's-
The British tea.
Yeah.
It's special water from Great Britain.
No, I took it out of the fridge where it's been frozen.
Yeah, that's.
Takes the chlorine, takes it out. Then.
Okay, while they're working on this, I hope we have a few minutes to talk about where we're going on our report to the city on the new city hall, what form it's gonna take, all those kinds of questions. Because it's gonna take us a long time to put this together. The way I understood it from the city manager sent a memo saying that the consultant will prepare a report, the city staff will prepare a report, and we'll prepare a report. And it seemed to me a little strange that the three people who are working for the.
Can all have a cascading effect, as you move downstream, national. Economically, you're looking at higher operation and maintenance costs, increased power to repump, and over-designed infrastructure. And environmentally, you have a higher risk of sanitary sewer overflows and sewer backups and spills. You've got loss of water intrusion. Some and then just wouldn't be regulatory.
You also have, not that it would have to, say, commercial, maybe, that's right. You have systems that would collapse. But the only identified plate might, that's.
Singles.
It, well, was it Friday? Yes. Those are the other problems. What you mentioned, like sand getting in there, grinding away everything. That's, it's got to a state where it's getting critical, or has been critical.
Okay,
So currently, there's a commission agenda memo that will be presented to commission tomorrow night to award a work group for consultant services and program management services for the citywide program. And I think some of the expected, they've got, good expertise, local INI experience. They demonstrated measurable results and cost savings in their prior project. They've got a fully committed staff and a very large pool of field staff and local resources.
and how much is this consultant contract for?
Trying to remember now, I want to say the 3 years was 16 million,
Okay,
15 to 16. And actually, like, you know, at the end of the day, it'll be what we negotiated the tax for, that what I'm telling you is the.
yes, Peter.
Clarification, are you not with Hazen and Sawyer, Brandy?
No.
You're with the city?
City of Fort Lauderdale.
So Hazen and Sawyer was the consultant for the I and I, were they not?
That was for, sorry, that was not for the consensus. Only for the consent.
Only for the consent.
Okay.
You poached her.
Hmm?
You poached Brandy from Hazen Sawyer.
No, I worked on the consent order. So I was always with the city of Fort Lauderdale, but I worked with Hazen on the.
I got
Yeah,
Okay.
so you might have just seen my face, you know.
Yeah.
With something related. So the strategy of the reduction program that Azure presented and their spiritual evaluation to the committee included a comprehensive base plan, identifying inflow and infiltration sources, data collection from the field, public education and outreach, establishing protocols, quality assurance, and quality control, identifying funding opportunities such as grants, policy adoptions, and quantifying actual savings. And we'll discuss each of these a little bit more. So the main goals of the program is to reduce the volume treated at the George T. Lomar plant, prevent expansion needs, including the new injection well, mitigate the dilution effect, as well as reducing the costs associated with something that and increasing capacity. Water transmission, flood transmission, without major costs resulting in economic growth and improving regulatory.
To the choir.
Thanks. Glad to agree so far. So here's the plan that they presented. I'll start with data collection. It'll include the scatter results, wet well rise, flow metering, and monitoring. And from that, they'll prioritize and rank the findings and develop a cost effective action plan using data. And then we'll policies. So for private laterals, currently there's nothing in place that would make the private owner that has iodine issues take care of the private volume. So we need to look at that.
How are you gonna find that out? I mean, I can understand how you would find out the condition of the cities. Go on to people's property and check out their lines.
This will all be done to figure out what's the best way to approach. There's different approaches. Some places where you study the house to the barn to do the next step. No test. Now.
There's always been that, like a city, customer's, sanitary sewer lateral coming out. We had one on Northeast 21st Road. That's caused a depression in there. And what happened was, the city did come out and fix that old, barn for back in the 50s, 60s. And what they normally do, well, I don't know, I didn't check to see if they, but they had at the customer's thing right behind the sidewalk, they put in like a clean out, which demarked that property. So they did fix it for years, but it's just to the point that that's what, and most of the customers don't have this clean up to demarcate that their line starts, behind the sidewalk. So
Roosevelt was next. Roosevelt?
How we going to enforce this upon cities that we provide for?
So that was the other policy that I worked.
Right.
So that one was already in the policy, but one of the main things we need to make sure is they are also for INI. So we need to enforce, right, in our agreements with them, they are also gonna do, citywide inspections on a cyclical basis and rehab. But this is, we're being responsible for our system, we need them to be responsible.
We need that. But we'll tell me body or something or a group that will make it done.
Have to. City wants to take a way to deal with these issues, so first we've got to. We'll work. There it is. Enforcing. At least with. Our users, we're gonna have to look at it.
Yeah, but they've already signed contracts. We've already signed contracts, 25-year contracts with some of the large. We can't go back and do anything for 25 years. I'm not saying this to be adversarial. I'm just saying this is an observation. Okay, Peter.
But I thought, you're correct, Chair, in what you said, but I thought we now had the ability or were measuring the flows coming from other cities. So it would seem the way to get at this is to somehow cap the amount, if their flows going up 10% a year, then that's not acceptable to us. There's some way to go from that direction. If we're doing our piece, we expect the other cities to be doing theirs, but they've really got to somehow prove to us that they are, haven't they?
And that's what, we're going to establish a policy for agreement to work so that we're making sure they're doing, inspections just like we are and doing rehab as needed.
Okay,
And I thought.
I'm not,
This is.
yeah, go on.
Part of that,
And I
Yeah,
thought the
oh,
other.
we have Frederick, no, you're not Frederick.
Scott,
Frederick is not here, yes.
yeah, I'm Scott Teske, I'm the division manager for engineering.
Okay,
Yeah, part of the program development with our DURA is they're gonna investigate the large users, they're gonna investigate the private laterals. And we're gonna develop an ordinance or something to bring to commission. Say, this is
now.
what we wanna do. So it would be a long process. It's not something that's gonna occur in the first year.
Right, well, the ordinance would work for the city's private people, but it's not gonna have any effect on Tamarack and Oakland Park.
Well, that's what we have to figure out, how to, some kind of enforcement mechanism that we can impose on them.
I think we beat this one to death.
Right.
I mean, we're aware of this problem, you're aware of this problem and the difficulty of making them do anything they don't want to do. Yes, Peter.
The private laterals, I just wanted to clarify. I thought some of the problem was you had people whose roof drains wrongly connect to the sewer pipes. And they've got to be found and disconnected and reconnected, haven't they? So we addressing that as well.
Part of the smoke dust. Yeah, and then smoke dust will be billowing out the roof.
But as part of the INI program, are we getting at, these private properties that are wrongly connected to the sewer system?
That is part of the plan, but that's where we need, policies to work with, that's one of the reasons we're gonna do public education, to make people informed of how these problems arise and what they can do to help. But what they'll do on their own to benefit everyone, versus enforcement are, two different things.
But we put all these items on the table, so you're aware of them, you're aware of them. Yes, Norma.
So Bradley? So what I understand is you've got a study for 3 years and the smoke test which show all those for the gaps that in the connection system. So that would provide to the step 2, which is enforcement, and the enforcement to the private property will be to the ordinance. If you consider enforcement to the large user agreement, I had an idea. Because all of this INI, the collection system in the Oakland Park with Tamarack, because they don't have a wastewater treatment plant, all those INI problems are tied to our permit, which is our conclusion. You can pay city to do anything. They have to ask for the capacity letter, right? The availability letter. So that's when the city control and shows and tells them, we do have a capacity to achieve the sewer, we have a capacity to provide you with the water and the new developments. And my understanding is those cities, they ask for capacity letters on the wastewater side from the city of Fort Lauderdale. Fine. We give a capacity, but we don't, because we don't have it. So you cannot build anything. In order to have this capacity, you have to, show the improvement on your collection system. So that would be something, maybe idea to enforce.
I'm more hopeful than I've been today.
Because that's the moment when you start making the decision.
Put the burden on the developer, not the city. The city can say, oh, sorry. But it's a great idea.
Somebody's gonna have to pay for it, so either we, but the city has had an enforcement to do the flow test before conduct, lining and the cities, obviously. So those cities would have to step in, but I think when the developers are asking for the capacity, that's the moment when maybe we'll start the
The
discussion.
problem is that there's no definitive measuring of sanitary sewer. It's always, where someone has a domestic water meter, they assume a certain percentage of that's going to be returned back into the sewer system. Unless you have a great big Ventura meter coming out of Wilton Manor.
There is.
It's the
So you
DRCs.
you have an idea approximately
Right.
how much is INI.
Yeah.
And how much is legitimate and.
Oh, well, actually, you could take readings in a dry period versus readings in a very wet period, and that was telling you.
Yeah, which is day and night, that's what they do the smoke test at night, to see the flows coming at night when people are supposed to be sleeping longer. But also,
It's going to be very interesting for the next 3 years.
yes, and I wanna just mention, I absolutely support this idea, I think it's also mandated by the DEP. So we all have an asset management and it's a lot of money from the state coming to the collection system, but we also have a compliance with the collection system, which we would have to meet with our next permit renewal for the wastewater treatment plant.
I
Permit
remember.
is 5 years, so next permit, we're gonna have to show what we're doing regarding the INI, which I think this analysis and all this model and help to actually maintain our permit.
But this study was not a requirement of the consent order. This we took
No.
on our own.
Correct.
God bless.
It will be required with the permit for the wastewater treatment plant. To keep our permit, we would have to show as a city that we maintaining and investing in a collection system.
Cool.
But
Yes.
this isn't a study, this is a INI reduction program that we're implementing.
Study to figure out what the program could, that's even
No,
better.
this is the
This is
program.
more just a study.
This is the
That
program.
they are currently doing.
Right.
Good.
And before we hired these people, we were doing this. We
Yes.
were best guessing where we should spend the money.
Right.
Now, we're not gonna be best guessing where to spend the money. We're
Right.
gonna have a plan.
So their initial studies will turn into actual construction of where the points are that we have to focus on and make repairs.
Okay, can I just sum this up? Because we really do have to move on. When this contract is agreed to tomorrow night, when will they be able to come to us and make their first presentation, do you think? I know, they gotta get started, they gotta run,
It'll probably be a few months. I guess.
Few months,
Yeah.
all right,
6 months maybe.
okay, so
And-
yes,
and-
all right.
Just to clarify another thing, this is to not line every pipe. This is gonna tell you what are the worst pipes that we need to line and, where the main leaks are. So it's like he's saying, it's like a saving.
So in the initial contract is a 3-year term with 2 1-year options. So we're planning on a 5-year contract.
We're
with this
gonna need
company.
5 years to do this.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
okay, yes,
That would prioritize where area when the management spend.
right. And also give us an idea of the magnitude of the amount of money that has to be put into this, so we can put that in the
Yep.
CIP.
she's gonna show you that on the next
Oh,
slide.
okay, that's okay.
I'm not trying to.
No, but he has a question.
Yes, yes.
And that was a great segue for me. Thank you, Omar. Besides lining, are there other corrective actions?
It depends on what the defects are found, and yes, it's not all lining. Sometimes it can be something else that goes in clean out,
As a what?
as a clean out,
Oh,
clean
clean.
out how.
Well,
It really.
okay.
Okay, so yeah, we'll move from ionized source detection to rehab of post-monitoring. Repairs of post-monitoring done during the wet season from June to November, dry season smoke testing, and year-round manhole inspections and CCTV inspections.
Oh, can you go back to that slide for a minute?
Uh-huh.
Is that bottom slide an actual slide, a photograph of water leaking into the
It
pipe?
is, yes, it's from
Oh,
the
cool.
CCTV panel.
Thank you.
It's not flowing anymore.
Only I'd be able to do that. It's just
That's a lot of water.
That's a lot of water seeping into that pipe. Yeah, so.
So after we get the SFDS results, we'll need to prioritize and rank the deficiencies that are found. And so we'll be looking at factors of these critical and high INI, including factors resulting from rain, dependent INI, tidal INI, king tides, and sanitary sewer overflows. And we'll use all this information to try to come up with, the best, cost savings and more significant, compared to getting to the worst areas and easy things to get you to try and make the biggest difference earlier on. As far as funding, we have an upcoming proposed budget amendment that'll be presented for 23.3 million. To start the program with, and that is the bond money. And then in the adopted budget for 2024 in Fund 454, we've got 3.7 million in FY24. And then moving forward, the department has laid out what our CIP is proposed to be. It hasn't routed yet, but it'll be routed through city for approval. And in that, they've got planned 5 million in FY25. And then around 15 million, give or take, between FY26 and FY29. My opinion, the FY25 is a little bit low. I see your hand on it.
Yeah, when you say the bond fund, the bond money, what bond money?
So the bond money that was issued in 2024, water sewer bond,
Have we already spent that money already?
this is a new bond. So there
Oh,
was
this is
one bond.
not the consent order bond.
Correct.
This is the next $200 million bond.
Yes.
Okay,
There were some projects in that were planned for INI, so that money has been planned to be put together and put into that project number there.
okay.
So we have, technical memorandum that kind of shows specific projects that had capacity and related issues to INI. And that report showed the need of $15 to $19 million annually for FY23 through FY28. And, being that the 23.3, some of that will go to repairs, but that's also going to the active management, some of the data collection, some of the things that we don't normally do. Hopefully it'll make it more cost effective. But that's why I say I feel like the 5 million is a little bit low, but we were competing with other water and sewer projects that have, significant needs as well. But, we can try and look at grants and that kind of thing.
Okay. Yes, Peter?
This bond, overall, the city is bonding for a lot of things now. At some point, and it's not urgent, but I would love to get you an overview from Director of Finance Office as to what this is doing to our, how much we're having budget pay off. Interest rates.
We had that presentation. We had that presentation. The commission had that presentation.
We should get that information.
Well, I go look for it.
Yeah, that is conference.
At the
Okay,
conference
I can
meeting.
look for that.
Actually, if we have time at the next, at our next meeting, just quickly going through that. Quite probably will be a very good, so that everything, the conference.
Like how much debt have we taken on?
We got about, somebody said we're like 80% maxed out, if I see. Yeah, and so this latest, the 2024, the second $200 million. Is that already anticipated in the Stantec, the analysis of the rate increases for storm sewers?
I haven't been involved in Stantec effort yet. I don't know if maybe Laura.
At some point, we should find out. All right, so preliminary I&I work summary. So this is what we've been doing just by the seat of our pants, right? So to speak.
And so what's your question?
I'm sorry, just explain the slide. Actually,
Okay, so this is a preliminary I&I work plan summary, and I'm saying this because, DORA hasn't actually been started yet, but, they did present, what their plan was, and we talked about what they're planning, but we're still in the early stages. But their plan is to develop the comprehensive phase plan, and then begin phase 1 planning and implementation, focusing on 10 critical phases. Prioritizing and ranking of efficiency, developing a cost-effective corrective action plan. And then post-monitoring of high priority deficiencies and legal connections. And then after that, we'll go to our phase 2. Once that's either completed or underway, we'll move on to our phase 2 planning and with priority 2 projects, which will follow the same process, assessing the reasons, prioritizing ranking, doing the corrective action plan, and recap and post monitoring. And so forth, like when you go in phase 3, that process starts all over again.
So I'm trying to understand this slide and Shane's given me some information here. So these are numbers indicate what?
So those are basin numbers. We've got maybe 177 basins citywide.
Basins,
Yes.
okay.
So basin is
the
just,
lift station.
it's an area, that we call.
So I don't see any number for the neighborhood that I live in.
So there's been 45 basins that we've seen that are kind of considered priority basins based off of the findings with her, but we have seen, issues.
Is that good? I don't know.
So.
Thank you, Mark.
We get all the data from running the models and how many, how busy are the pump stations, what the running time and all that. So these are the ones that they send out as the most problematic basins.
Right, they're the ones that the pumps are running, yada, yada, yada. Yeah,
You're in a basin.
I am, so there is a pump station where I live. It's just not a
critical.
critical one on this map.
Maybe.
So the phased approach will allow us to get to the repairs more immediately, so you can quickly do that.
That's good. That's a good plan.
It'll be fabulous because of the fact that, this reducing the sand getting in there, the rising range and the colors of the pumping stations. Then all the amount of less treatment at the George T. Lomar plant, big savings all in all. It's got a lot of pluses on these projects.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Public Works update on the CIP financial report. It's in the document, unless there's something you need to bring to our attention. I think we can move on from that. Okay, that being the case, we're moving on to number 5, committee members. We have no public, so it's obviously committee members' comments. I just have one, and that's there is a bill going through Tallahassee. The bill that I mentioned, I think at the last meeting, that would prohibit cities from charging large users, the 25% surcharge. It passed through its first committee favorably, which is not good. And unless something, it seems to me at this point that we should be like, fire, hands on fire. But I don't get any sense of urgency.
Well,
Are
we
you
are
following
following,
this?
yeah, we know that it's there and we're paying attention to it, so that, they know. But until we get some final resolution, we will know.
Well, we shouldn't be waiting for a final resolution. We should be lobbying hard.
It's up to
Yeah. Martha,
Just to add, there's 3 bills in Tallahassee. Each single one is eliminating 25% surcharge. Like, they submitted by 3 different legislators, so this is a year number 3. When usually the bill lives about 3 years in Tallahassee. This is a year number 3 where we're hitting the same. Those, last year was a 1 bill, a year before was 1 bill, this year there was 2 additional. Those 2 bills and 1 completely new, but it's combining not only the elimination of 25% surcharge, but also elimination of utilities direct funding of general funds through the utility water sewer rates. So the transfer to the general funds would be prohibited.
well,
That's the bill in Tallahassee right now. So this is a year number 3. It's a lot of heated waters in Tallahassee regards those bills. I do absolutely agree with Marilyn that that's the year to start lobbying harder. Because not only we looking at the elimination of 25% surcharge, but we also looking at elimination of the water and sewer funding general funds, which that supports the HR department, IT department, so the city hall, staff be, impacted financially.
Yeah, but.
And the department that does that for us is doing that. I know Daphne was
Daphne
up
is working
there
on
in Tallahassee, 1 or 2 weeks ago, and she's following very closely. So she's, she'll keep me updated, but if you want her to come here and give you any kind of,
Well, it will almost be too late. By the time 4 more weeks go by, it'll have gone through 3 more committees.
Yes.
I can ask her for an update, and see what,
Yeah. Okay, let's put it on the next agenda. Hopefully, she'll be able to tell us that it's dying of.
Right, so do you want her to be on the next?
I don't think so. Yes, let's
Okay.
put it on the next agenda. James.
I need some education. Why is this being brought forward? What is it's behind?
So the argument from the other side is why customers in Tamarack or Oakland Park, they have to pay 25% more for water that they drink the same water like for Florida. So it's kind of not fair.
Build your own water plant.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and again, that's kind of a national issue that United Nations was supposed to provide, affordable water price, and there's just unfairness that some customers, they have to pay more than
But it's
the other.
not unfair.
I do agree. I do also understand the city when they, they have the water line in the Tamarack or something, they probably have to pay engineering fees and go through the process and kind of support financially their departments for review and inspectors. So, but they definitely see this as a, unfairness.
Do you know?
So
do
is
you know-
it coming, the representatives bringing it forward, is it coming from some small towns or something?
Well, technically, the utilities, they're supposed to be kind of like non-profit, right? Like we collect them water and sewer rates, we collect the money and we invest in the infrastructure.
Right.
So there is no really, we should not have the benefits. So they're thinking that we should be collecting equally.
Maybe the state should take over the water bottom line.
No, I'm sure this is coming from the city. When you go up to Tallahassee, it's looking out for Miami-Dade.
We are doing the.
We are Donut.
Donut County.
We are Donut County.
We are Donut County.
Even Jacksonville, big cities like that, they don't have they're democratic cities.
But they also see that the general, the funds, the transfer funds to the general funds, it's really benefiting city of Florida.
We don't transfer anymore. The elimination of the ROI. We made the political decision to do that anyway.
Okay, but it was not.
No, we made a
lot of
political
cities. And that's.
So I think it's fair and good to the legislative thing. the funds that the enterprise funds, the funds are, I'd love to see it in more, but we took that on the opposite.
Yeah. So that's all that is.
All right. It's something that we have to keep in mind.
Absolutely. No, Miami, that's the year, because there's usually like a yes.
And I'm thinking, why, it's not just, very confident. Very super organized. Very comfortable and high safety. So that would, that would, very important. I mean, can we figure out exactly the best of these things? Can we figure out what initial we have?
Well, I don't know what it is, but. I think the one who just, yeah, last out. Well, the first thing. So we can vote. We vote.
We have some more. And we have.
I heard it was a region, but I think he was for that fight. And, yeah, we were fighting about 25-10 foot supposed to be. I'm not that, I wasn't involved with it. Today, I think we having the fix and rerouting and so that. I'm very, you know, but the front. It's not from 95. Yeah, he wasn't very pleasant. We had to find out. What was the, you know, that when we can have that five and you know what that we was. That's how. Well, that's when it's involved. Well, I'm very. Can we get a Jones skills report? Still involved. Nothing in groundwater. The city did issue. There was also another problem. I had I think police. Hotel.
I have a question. When you find out who owns the collection system in the city, like Tamara or Antifa, and use your own little infrastructure. Would they are there?
I think. Even the meters, some of the, they use smart meters. In their, some of the, I don't know, people, well, I think they calibrate it every so often, but I'm not, program,